Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast episode number 169. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers, and it's Mondays with Mello. So today I want to discuss never forget your purpose in life. And before we start, a quick quote from Diana Ross. You can't just sit there and wait for people to give you that golden dream. You've got to get out there and make it happen for yourself. Man, if those aren't true words. Now, the subject matter of this podcast is so necessary. And I want to express how important it is to never forget your purpose. And when you figure out what you're meant to do with your life and it's your passion and you love it, you must embrace it and hone in on it. Because sometimes in life, we get down on ourselves and we forget our purpose in life and we forget why we do what we do. And I don't want anyone to lose focus or forget what they're meant to do in life, whether it's running a store for a company or day trading or writing books or scripts or helping others, giving back, working in the medical field, being a lawyer, working in community service, working for nonprofit organizations. Whatever it is, just know that anything with purpose should keep you driven on a daily basis. And life will constantly change, and people will change around you, and people will surely come and go. Because, man, if I learned that, I would say within the past year or year and a half. Just remember to stay on your purpose and your grind. Your love for what you do should drive you, and, you should always continue to strive for greatness. And the day you forget your purpose and lose motivation, it's the gateway to pretty much questioning yourself and doubting yourself as usual. But if you ever get to that point where you do lose your purpose and you lose your motivation, it's time to have that sit down with yourself and reevaluate your life and figure out what's important for you. And I've had moments where I've questioned everything that I'm doing, from the books I'm writing, the blogs I write, these podcasts I record, the audiobooks I record that I've put a lot of time into. But I've been on my journey for a few years, and because I know this is my purpose, I know I have so much content, storytelling, motivation, and inspiration to give to the world. And that's my reality at this point. And it's funny because, for the longest time in my 20s, I was immersed in sports, and that's what I loved, and that's, what my passion was at that time. And somewhere along the lines, I wanted to make it in sports somehow, some way. Whether it was working for the NBA or working for, the NFL, or, being a sports analyst was the big goal. And, you learn along the way all that it takes to get there. Um, I had a YouTube channel and all that stuff, and I was motivated and I was inspired on a regular basis. And then I became a basketball referee, and then I got certified, you know, a little too late, in my opinion, because I had been doing it for so many years for sports leagues. And then when I finally got certified, my body was just tired, and I had to figure out what was next for myself. And all along, it really wasn't me, it wasn't me really supposed to be doing sports. It was me supposed to be writing and creating and doing those things. And my mom and I have conversations from time to time about my journey and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And it's funny because she's like, you always keep going no matter what happens. She's like, you make investments, sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't, but she's like, you just don't give up. You're pretty persistent with it. And she's like, that's a great thing, and you've been doing it for a few years, and she knows somewhere along the lines, like, all of this is going to kind of come to fruition and it'll take off when it's supposed to. But I appreciate when she tells me things like that, because it makes me think to myself, like, wow, I've come a long way. And you're gonna figure out your purpose in life somewhere somewhere along the lines. It's not gonna be in your 20s always. It may not be in your 30s. It may not even be in your 40s. Maybe in your 50s or your 60s. You never know. Um, but that's what this life journey is about. It's about learning about ourselves and figuring out who we are and what we're meant to do in this life. And we're all blessed with talents and gifts. And I've had friends tell me, well, no, we're not. We're not all blessed with gifts and talents. And I have clearly told him, I'm like, no, that's not the case. Just because someone is like an athlete and, they're doing great for themselves and they make millions of dollars, that doesn't necessarily mean like you don't have talents and gifts that they're not good at. We're all good at something. So we all need each other in some way, shape, or form. And that's why I say to never forget your purpose in life. Whether that is to own a bakery or, to own a clothing store, whatever it is that you love, you've got to do it. Because I always tell people you want to be 80 with memories, not 80 with regrets. And that's, and I always say that because, I always look at people living long and living long lives. It seems like that's what's happening now in this world. It seems like a lot of us are starting to live longer lives than normal. I don't get caught up in looking at all of the violence and, chaos that's going on in the world. That's unfortunate. But I look at the fact that a lot of us are going to live long lives. Like, you know, I've had family members live into their late 80s, early 90s, things of that nature. That's part of the family. Like my mom's aunt is in her early 80s and she doesn't look it either. So uh, I want you all to really think about what your purpose is in life. And if you figured it out, that's great. But remember, you're put here for a purpose and a reason. And when you figure that out and you learn what it is, that's what you're supposed to do. And if you explore yourself and who you really are from a spiritual standpoint and you turn off all of the noise pollution that, convolutes our minds on a daily basis, you'll get a full understanding of who you really are and what you're supposed to do with yourself. So you can't let the world dictate what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to hone in on yourself and whatever you believe in, whether it's guardian angels, universe, God, whatever it is, like really sit within yourself and figure out what you're supposed to do with yourself in your life. Because once you have purpose, then you have drive, then you're motivated, then you're inspired, then you become consistent in what you're doing, and then you become disciplined. And once you have the consistency and the discipline, you can forget it. No one can stop you at all, no matter, how much people try to keep up with you or try to catch up to you. They won't be able to. My journey, I'm not even like really like trying to, boost my ego or anything like that. But honestly, like if I really wanted to walk away from like just writing books alone, I would be fine for the rest of my life promoting those books and getting myself to where I want to be just off of the books that I've written. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying that's just the place that I'm at now. 6.5 years, I've done the work, I've put all the content out there, and it's there for the taking. But for me, I stay motivated and know that I'm doing God's work because I obviously believe in God and all of that. I believe in the Creator. Not knocking anyone who doesn't, but just saying like that's what I believe in, and I'm doing His work. That's just the way I see it, and that's partly why I'm very humble, and I don't really get too high, and I don't really get too low anymore with my journey and what I'm doing. So understand and know like uh, you have a long life and you have a full journey um, to really figure out and learn what you want to do. And even if you figure out one thing and you're doing it and that's your purpose, and then you figure out that there's something else that you're supposed to be doing in your life, you may want to explore that too. So don't limit yourself to just one thing. I write books, but I also have this podcast, and I also have a website, and I also, have a clothing line, and I've also built, you know, a solid foundation for myself. So keep that in mind with your journey and what you guys are doing for yourselves. I want you guys to seriously, like, you know, live a life that's, full of fulfillment and love and happiness and joy. And to end this, I just want to say I have a brand new website, and it's for my podcast specifically, sorry. And it's basically the name of my podcast. So it's theaquarianmindpodcast.com. So if you choose to go to my website, you can listen to my podcast there. And my media players that you will listen to my podcast, it has cool backgrounds to them. So yeah, if you choose to go there, that's awesome. And also please feel free to leave a review on my podcast and what you think. That'd be awesome too. And whatever, if you are listening to it on a certain platform, hey man, by all means, just keep doing it. I appreciate you all. I thank you guys for listening to my podcast consistently and regularly. And I always try to be as creative and as open and honest and transparent with you guys as possible on my journey in life. And hopefully these podcasts help you guys to keep going. And with that said, that is my podcast for today. I thank you guys for listening. As always, be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.